and then yeah, it'll
Sure.
just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Got it.
Yeah, so already done one. Summer just got picked real early. Nice sleep. All right, and then also just to refresh ourselves on like what were the main things we talked about last time. So number 1, we talked about positioning and then awareness. Then number 3 was ability usage, then ultimate usage, and then finally mechanics was the lowest. So just taking a look, positioning, we talked about the 3 on a check boxes of Ana positioning, and then just general usage of cover and high grounds and rotating in between fights. And then we just talked. Okay, so we talked about a lot of the general Ana stuff. All right. So just giving myself a quick refresher there.
Sure.
Okay. So far, a lot of just healing needs, which isn't terrible, but as we discussed last time, healing needs sometimes aren't even necessary if we get an anti-nade, because then we create space, and then therefore they're doing less damage to our team if they're backing up, and then that's gonna be good for us.
Yeah.
Oh, so Ash ends up flanking us. How'd she just do that? She just kind of walk up to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a situation where, we hear her to our left, we see her to the left, we attempt to take the duel. This probably is a situation where we just run away and just back up and or like run to our team, like we run around the corner, try to keep running to them, as we currently don't have abilities. And then even if we do have abilities in this situation, we're at a clear disadvantage in the Ana versus Ash, duel. Like she just has a big advantage in that. So, in this situation, definitely just running away would just be the better option than trying to duel her.
Okay. Is there a DPS that you would try to duel
Not often if it's a
unless
straight 1v1. So that how taking duels works is if basically like you kind of have different stages of it. Right, you have just the flat up 1v1 where let's say you both have all abilities, you both are an even playing fields, right? In that case, you kind of go on like which character like does that like which character is better in a duel, right? Like which characters like can you take? Like some characters I'll probably say you could take as Ana, like maybe like a Reaper or a Junkrat. Like a Reaper, sometimes Ana can take because you can stop him from using his self healing, right? And you have
yeah.
both your abilities can do that. Junkrat maybe you can take. Characters they probably just want to like run away from would be like Tracer, Genji's you can sometimes take. It really depends on the situations, but like a lot of the times, if you don't have a clear advantage, if it's just a 1v1 against a DPS, a lot of the times you're just going to want to disengage. So, what that means is, like, for example, let's say that they have more abilities, or they have more health, or they have a teammate with them and it's a 2v1, or, they have a damage boost on them, or you're, already low HP, right? All these things over like kind of feed into you at being at a disadvantage, in even more of a disadvantage in that duel. Whereas if it goes the opposite way, like let's say you have one of those advantages, you have more abilities, more health, more, a team support, right? Then you can be more aggressive and take that and force them into that duel. Whereas if you don't, then you might want to back out. In that case, when we were down both of our abilities and Ash, like honestly, like you could probably take an Ash, like if you're like if you're on even footing, that's a decently even duel, but not when you don't have anything. So
Yeah. If I had like my sleep and landed it, then it would have been
yep,
a fine time to
or
try
even
and
if
duel.
yeah, or even if you have like a nade, right? Nade's like a big dual, like both of them are big dual changers because like you nade like yourself and them, and then that means that now they can't heal. It does a third of their health, and it also heals you up a third of your health. So it's a big game changer because it kind of flips the tables drastically, and then also the sleep, of course, like you said, can
Yeah.
just really get them. So.
Can I
Hmm?
can I ask you about I have a lot of trouble with Genjis. Like when I
Hmm?
get dove by Genji, that's probably like the main character, even more than Doomfist,
Mm.
that I just hate to have on top of me because the double jump. I
Mm.
always end up my tracking. I always lose tracking of them,
Mm.
and I don't know if there's like any kind of like tips that you have for that, or just like good luck, you know?
Okay, so first off, kind of same thing as like a tracer. You just might want to back up, right? If he's on top of you, that's usually going to be with the assumption that he just dashed at you and probably did a decent amount of damage to you. So a lot of the times, it's like when we're up against characters like that, we just want to be like on our team, and so that they can
Hmm.
body block for us. Like if we're like right here inside of a Reinhardt, right? Then how is Genji gonna kill us, right? Like we can just duck in and out of his body. Reinhardt can give us protection, right? Same with thing with our team. On top of that, you can wait until he falls. Particularly like if you're looking for your nade, you kind of wait until he's landing because he can't stay up in the air indefinitely, right? He has to come downwards. So when you kind of time it for when he is landing, and then that's going to be specifically when you want to go for the nade. And then just watch for his deflect with your abilities, and then those are kind of really the main ones. Yeah, just basically try to get away from him if he has the clear advantage in that duel, and you feel like you're not doing too good if you're in that 1v1.
Okay.
Okay, coming up on our ult here. Very nice sleep. Go just real quick. Yeah, Reinhardt probably looks like the best thing to go for. Nice nade. We got one with it, or like a decent nade. So far again though, it's seeming like it's seeming kind of like same stuff as last time, where like
Mm.
not we're hitting our nades. So like I think last time, like if I just were to read this off real quick, it says like put a lot of effort into making sure your nades are landing. You can think about it for a few seconds even before you have the cooldown for things that can block it: walls, teammates, enemy tanks, and shields and abilities. Make sure to work on getting them around those things. So like we talked about last time, how we want to, or at least I'm taking the assumption that we did, because I talk about this a lot of the times with Ana players, is like we want to be going for anti-nades, right? We don't want to just be going
Yeah.
for healing nades all the time. And here, obviously, like so far within the first 2 minutes, we've hit one single anti-nade on one character, whereas
Hmm.
we probably want to, it's of course going to be a lot better if we're getting 3, 4, 5, 6 man anti-nades than if we're getting one single person purpled. So in this situation, we just want to make sure we're intentionally going for more anti-nades, and we're seeming as if we're playing slightly passive with our play style. All right, and then we just chucked in a nade right there. Looks like what did that do? Okay, so we chucked
I,
one in there, and that got two.
I
Okay, so that was decent.
I assumed that they were hiding behind the window.
Which you did get kills out of it, or not kills. So you got two. You got two purples out of it. Okay, there, just missed a couple of shots, missed the sleeps I haven't, I've saw the one or two Reinhardt sleeps hit. Other one here is just like, this is a super easy nade to just go for if we just, plop it down on these two guys, like just standing right next to each other, right, just easy
Hmm.
nade. But then we kind of wait until after that easy nade is passed, and then Sorry runs around the corner, then we only get one person with it.
Mm.
Okay. Don't kind of, this is the do I take this duel mindset, right? Like I kind of thinking through that. Probably not, right? 80 HP, no team support, right? Zarya is full charge, right? And we kind of run back at her, right? And then we die as a result. So just in
Hmm.
that situation, we back up, right? Because if we backed up there, then now we're coming in with these guys, and we have the closer spawns, right? We come back and it's a 4v1 on the Zarya, maybe let's say 4v2 on the Zarya Reinhardt, right? We have the clear advantage because we have a much closer spawn. So just staying alive there would have been invaluable, but now we staggered ourselves, which means that we're not going to be coming back for a long while, which means that now our team doesn't have as much of an advantage as they could have had. So focus on the survival there, so that
Okay.
we can actually, come back with an advantage.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't know what to do there because I felt pressured to want to take that 1v1. But
Yep, no, it would have been just better.
uh,
Like in that situation, like when when both sides like only have a couple people alive, if you
Mhm.
have the closer spawns, you just go for the full, like the regroup, because then you can come in with more people than they'll have, right?
Okay.
If you like, let's say it was like a 2v2 or 3v3, like, you don't have to force that engagement when you could just wait for like 2 more people to come back when you're gonna get your players before they do.
Okay.
Which is what happened here. Like, even though we died, that's still what happened, was that we just got our players back faster. We got them to better positioning on point, and then they had to walk into us.
This next part is just us trying to force this objective for about 4 minutes.
Mm,
But we
okay.
get like held really hard. I felt mostly lost in
Alright.
this situation. So just keep an eye out for that.
Alright, so first off, Reinhardt is, running around the corner here. He just gets... So we kind of missed that first one, and then now we're... Alright, so really the thing I'm noticing here is just the fact that we missed the first go up, and then that probably is what didn't allow us to heal the Reinhardt, because if we were up faster, we would have been able to see and heal the Reinhardt, but, that's fine. He got picked. I think the main issue is that our team actually walked in there before we had people, because we saw these guys walking back. Yep, there we go. So you see how
Hmm.
we're trying to engage when we're down 2 people here. So that needs to be something at the very minimum that we're aware of, so that we don't make, that we're not the ones making that decision. But this is something we can also communicate and relay in comms. Is Reinhardt, like, specifically call people out, like if Reinhardt's the one pushing, go back up, Ryan, we're down 2 people, right? Like, we should not be pushing into a situation where we're clearly at the disadvantage, right? Because already being down 2 people walking into a fight is essentially walking into a lost fight, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we just lose this fight instantaneously, is because it's a 6v um 6v4, right? And then on top of that, it looks like Reinhardt missed hit one person with a shatter after getting an EMP. Okay, so still, you know, how long are we into this game? We're 4 minutes into this game. Let's, subtract a little bit of time for in spawn or whatever. 3 minutes in ish, and we have hit 2 single people with anti-nades, right? Just kind of
Hmm.
keeping track of that, right? We just haven't been using it aggressively, which just means that the massive ability that acts almost as an ultimate on our in our kit, we're just not utilizing it here. Here we aren't aware of the fact that Reinhardt charges at us. We can hear him charge. We don't pay attention, then we get pinned and die. So that is an awareness death, right? Awareness was our number 2 last time. So far, honestly, I haven't seen a ton of positional stuff. Like, not a ton. I think the main one is that we're just not actively looking to get aggressive with our positioning. We're just kind of playing passive with it. But
Hmm.
this isn't another awareness thing. We're just pay attention to our surroundings. Keep your ears open. Listen for the charge, right? That way we're not dying. That we didn't die because we were out of position or too aggressive or used our abilities wrong. It's just because we didn't hear the Reinhardt charging at us. And then as a result, that's fight number 2 that's lost. Okay, notice how we're approaching really, really slowly here. Pay attention how close our team is and make sure we're walking forwards with them. So here
Okay.
we're ahead of our entire team. Right? Notice how, like, no one's in front of us, but we sit so long here at the choke point. Like, we just sit so far back that they all push forwards here, and we're just still here chilling, right? We just still chilling here. And then that means that they're all the way up there and we're still super far back, which means that they're just going to walk out of our line of sight, right? This is part of, that we talked about last time, the 1 2 3 check marks of on a positioning. Number 1 is, can I see my team? This is a part of, can I see my team? If we're
Hmm.
not pushing forwards with them, they're just going to walk out of sight of our line of sight, right? Like, here in a moment, you're probably going to notice, right? They all walk around that corner, right? Obviously, I guess they're not super walking around the corner, but they could have, right? There's a couple people who walked around the corners, all right? And
Yeah.
we're just not there with them. Okay, currently we're looking for a nano boost to go on someone. Okay, there we probably didn't need to suicide for a sleep on the Bob, right? Here we don't have a reason to jump into them. Or like jump into the Bob. We probably could just like peek the corner and sleep them, and then now we're good to just chill up here. What
Hmm.
what again this kind of gets into awareness is that we don't see the Reinhardt pushing forwards, even though we just like on the corner of our screen saw his hammer peek up over the edge, and we hear the big clunk and hulking clanky man who has a big he has a suit of armor, and we see his hammer and we see him running forwards. Yeah, we kind of jump into him there, right, and then therefore die as a result. Like all these fights we're dying first, right? So we're lost, right? We're confused. Why are we losing these fights? But the reason why, our big impact on losing these fights, and this is sort of like self-explanatory, right, is that we're just dying
Hmm.
first, right? Dying first, obviously, is a big, much worse than dying last, because if you're dying last, that means you've already lost the fight at that point. But you dying first, now you're the catalyst for the lost fight, right? It doesn't now this is not a guaranteed lost fight, but this is our impact on losing the fight, right? We're starting that process of losing it. So this puts our team at a disadvantage. It means that we no longer have an impact. It means that they don't have healing. And, ultimately they're just more likely to lose this fight now that we're dead. And that's happened twice in a row now. And then the first fight was just because our Reinhardt ran in and we could have maybe called that, right? So that's, two fights in a row now. That's kind of on us.
Good to know.
Mm.
I felt really frustrated this game, and
Mm.
I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong,
Yep.
and so
So, I
this
mean, like,
is
it doesn't seem as though we talked about survivability last time, but, like, why don't we, like, just glancing at, um, back end notes. So why don't we talk about just survivability real quick, right?
sure.
Survivability is really important, right? Staying alive is really important. Just talking on the time that that you're out of the game when you're dead. I think we've died 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ish times. Um, so far, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, roughly 5 times, right? And it's been 5 minutes, roughly, right? So that's roughly a death a minute, right? So
Hmm.
18-minute total game. Let's subtract, like, let's go on the generous side, subtract, 2 minutes, 40 seconds for, in between rounds and whatnot, right? That leaves us with roughly 16-minute game, right? That's 16 deaths this game. Just giving Ren just an estimate here if it's continuing at this rate, right? Um,
Hmm.
each individual death you die, you are respawning for 10 seconds and then roughly taking 10 seconds to walk back. So that's 20 seconds a death. Now, if we divided that by 60, right, to see how many minutes that is roughly 5 minutes and 20 seconds that you are not participating in the game. And in fact, not just not participating, you are actively putting your team at a disadvantage, right? 5 entire minutes and 20 seconds, right? That is the
Hmm.
amount of time it could take you to get 4 or 5 nano boosts, right? Which is an insane number to think about. That's the amount of time we could be chucking out tons and tons of nades and sleeps and healing and staying alive and doing outputting value, right? And keeping our team alive. And when we are dying constantly, that means that we're now losing out on a ton of value that we could be getting, right? So we want to make sure that we are surviving so that we can continue to get value and not be putting our team at a disadvantage. And so far, that's looking like one of the bigger things so far on our list is just we keep dying, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
let's rewatch that. Why did Zarya die?
Step right up.
No. Want to make sure we're using our Nano Boost here. We're kind of holding on to it for a little bit.
You're going to be okay.
At the moment, maybe just, grouping up with our team. You don't necessarily have to engage here. Oh, so yeah, that's not a ton we could do in that situation. For the tire, maybe we could have alternatively, once we heard the tire, just ducked back in that room instead of engaging the McCree, and then that, possibly opens up to our survival, and then notice again how not necessarily the first to die, because Zarya died, but, Zarya at this point, oh, Zarya's back on Reinhardt, right? But at this point, Zarya is back, right? Zarya
Yeah.
just returned. So that means that again, essentially, we're dying kind of first in this fight, which this one isn't as bad as the other ones, but it's still us dying pretty much first. I can't actually tell. I think the ball actually died earlier before you did. Can't remember. Does the kill feed go top to bottom or bottom to top? It's top to bottom, right? So you
Yeah, it's like reverse.
yeah,
So I think I
died first.
died first and then
Yeah.
ball. Yeah.
Okay. So then, yeah, that again, something we could have maybe prevented if he just backed up and got around the corner, and then now we were hidden from it. He heard us. He was around the corner, so the reason why he knew that we were here is because he heard us using abilities and whatnot. So, just
Mhm.
again, survivability. Now that's
Okay.
fight number 4 that we've lost. 3 of which we've died first, right?
Yeah.
So now that's kind of keeping up with our one death a minute count. Really nice. Again, lagging slightly behind your team. That's a good healing nade. Right, that's a situation where I'd say to go ahead and throw the healing nade. Right, it's not every single nade that you're ever throwing should be anti, but most of them, a majority of them should be. Whereas
Okay.
that was a good healing nade. Right? Did we not talk about that last week? Then I guess let's talk about that. Right.
Sure.
Roughly, just if we're putting a rough percentage on it, 60% of your nades should be anti-nades, right? Whereas 40% should be healing nades. And how you look to go about doing that is it's not like you're not how it works is you're looking to basically get 100% of your nades to be antis, but but then that's of course unrealistic, so you whenever healing is needed you go for the healing, right? So in that situation you weren't coming into that fight planning for your team to take damage and need an aid, but
Yeah.
as the need arises you use it, which will be roughly 40% of the time, but every other time we're actively looking for the anti-nade, whereas right now it's like uh, the opposite. In fact, it's like 90% of the time we're using it for healing, and then 10% of the time we're using it for damage. Now, McCree marks the third person we've anti-naded, but again, it's like single people anti-nades, like it's single person anti-nades, and we want to make sure we're going for more than just one person because anti-nade has so much potential to to win fights and pull it around. The 6-man anti-nade can be more powerful than your nano boost, right? I've
Yeah.
um we did talk about like all this stuff like last time though, right? Okay.
Not the 60/40 kind of rule.
Yeah, it's just a rough
But the
guide here.
aggressive,
Yeah.
yeah, I was the first session was I was definitely more aggressive with my anti-nades.
Mm,
I just didn't feel like I had as many opportunities to go
mm,
aggressive. Also, this game did wasn't exactly normal just because of this weird was it just this second push, I'd say.
mm-hmm.
But that's just because I was dying a bunch, and
Yeah.
now that I know that, it's a lot more clear. It's become more self-explanatory, as you
Yep.
said.
Get in there. Target eliminated.
Watch your nade. Or that nade kind of did nothing. Just kind of threw it on the point onto nothing there, right? And I think we're trying to chuck at
Yeah.
a ball, but then it just collided with nothing. All right, so you just want to put more thought, effort into our nades.
Heal down. It's just a scratch. You'll be fine. We do not have time to waste. Attack now. Healing in hand. Get back in the fight. Nim.
Nice sleep. Good healing up your tanks. Good anti-nade.
Watching your back.
Step right up.
This will help. You're powered up. Get in there. It's just a scratch. You'll be fine.
All right. Finally got it in.
Never stop fighting.
Not too much of a problem with that last fight.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Okay, we see that they're on a dive. This is where we swap up our play style, right? Team composition dictates play style when we're up against different team compositions. We're going to be playing differently. Particularly here, we're going to be changing up our positioning. As soon as we see, oh snap, they have a Monkey D.Va Doomfist, we are going to drop to our team and play basically inside of them, right?
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep, because
I
that's
played
going.
back, but
Which the different what that's going to do is when we isolate ourselves, that makes it so much easier for them to kind of get on top of us, and we can't get any team support and they can't get any healing. Whereas if we're staying inside of them, then we get a lot of team support. They can tank for us. They can stun them when they come in, hack, flash, hook. Reinhardt can swing on top of them, right? And we get a lot more protection when we're on top of them. So that's how our positioning should change. And then
got it.
because we don't, okay, that could have, Monkey missed the jump on us, right? Because we immediately just make ourselves a target because we're off on our own, right?
Yeah.
Now we do land the sleep, so that was really good. So it's basically the same thing we were talking about before, like with the tracer thing, right? You just, if the tracer on top of you, just run to your team. Kind of the same thing with this.
Okay.
Now, in this situation, when you have such a good high ground, if you're, like if you let me figure out how to word this. If the high ground's like insanely far away from them, like then that's the situation where you can maybe be with them. Like so, for example, especially like if your team's kind of nearish to you. So like if, for example, if your team's like right below you, like right here, and you're on the high ground right here, and then you see like there's no one really on this left side of the map, which hopefully you should be keeping tabs on, like making sure Doomfist isn't flanking you. Um,
Okay.
if you know that, then you can keep high ground because then you can just drop to your team if you get dove. But not if like if your whole team's all the way over here, then that's a situation where you might not want to be on your own because then anybody comes at you and you just die, right? You
Yeah.
don't have a way to get any team support, right? You probably want to be with them if they're super far away from you. But if you're right next to you, then that's different. We talked about the long distance like nade tech, right? That this is just
Yeah.
this is just a situation where we'd be using that like just from this range to just toss in an anti or just toss it a normal.
I've gotten a feel for it.
Yeah.
You'll see me like from time to time. I'll use the ult indicator, and then I'll
Mhm.
also just kind of eyeball it.
Yeah. Which if you have a feel for it, then no, it's not needed. It's kind of like it's there if you do need it. I get that. I kind of have a feel for them too at this point. Or I played Ana,
Mm,
hundreds of hours, so I understand that. Just getting a feel for it to where the ult not even needed.
yeah.
I've seen worse. You're going to live.
See there, I was using the ult indicator.
Hmm.
I like that tip. That was one of my most favorite things you taught me.
Heal up.
So let's like rewatch this slightly.
Heal up.
All right. Um, there I probably say we use our abilities slightly poorly. So first off, with this sleep, make sure that when you're going up against a primal monkey, that first off, that he's in our line of sight. B, don't panic with it. A lot of the times, unless you have another person on you, he's not gonna melt you. If you're at 200 HP, you have time to react and kill him. Like you have seconds, like full
Hmm.
seconds to do that. So don't panic and use it immediately. The other tip is always go for the sleep after he has leapt or after he has hit you. If you're trying to hit him with the sleep as he just knocked you around, that's going to make the sleep incredibly difficult. Or if he's in the middle of jumping, it might be pretty hard as well. So instead, try to get that lull when he doesn't have the cooldown in the jump and when he's not hitting you. That way, he's just a Hulkin target standing still, right? And then also here in a moment, so we missed the sleep. and then in a moment we use our nade, which first off we kind of just get it on ourselves while we're 170 HP. This is not a 186 HP. It's paying attention to our health
Yeesh.
bar, right?
Yeah.
We're using it in a situation where we're not needing a nade, and then we also just we don't hit the monkey with it either because he runs around the corner. So just paying attention to our surroundings, being aware, right? Because so that one doesn't do anything, and then that means that monkey comes on us in a second, and both of those would have been more useful in this situation, right? When he's now on top of us.
Yeah.
Um, Now we're down 2 people, so at this point there's no use in using our ultimate, though. We had it back when did we get our ultimate here? We had it like back right here. We got it right there. This is before we lose any people, and we're actually up a person. We got the mercy, so this is a situation where we could be popping ult on somebody, right? Make sure we're not holding on to it, but actually using it that way we can get value out of it. Just a just a thought,
Okay.
right? So then we end up dropping 3 people. All right, that's terrible.
I'm not
Good job,
ready for
Sombra.
winning. You're powered up. Get
Oh,
in there.
what was that? Was that a
Wait, did I nano there?
yeah?
Oh, because I wanted to contest here.
Get in there.
All right, that's gonna like go away before he even gets back, man.
Yeah, I know it's
Just-
kind of like YOLOing it, but I thought he'd.
yeah, but pay attention to how long. Like it's just gone by the time he makes it back. Like look, he's gonna be back for 2 seconds and then it's gone. It's kind of hard to see because he actually he uses his adaptive shields, which kind of looks like it, but you kind of see the electricity from it, and then watch it's gonna change away from the electricity now. Oh, now, right?
Yeah.
So by the time he gets to point, he has it for like 2 seconds.
Mhm.
And also on top of that, he's 1 person, 2 people, 2v6, right? uh, you can win any single fight in the game, man. Right? Like you can win any fight ever in existence. It's just gonna be like a 1% chance, right? Don't
Yeah.
take the 1% chance, right? You could most certainly, yes, this is a theoretically winnable fight, but it's such a low probability that you win that you're better off just holding on to Nano and using it for the next fight, because then in the next fight you can kind of change it around. Like if we don't have Nano here, that means that let's say our chances of winning are like a 50% chance, or even like maybe like a 45% chance. But if we have Nano, now that goes up to like a 55% chance, right? Whereas here we have like a 0.000 1% chance of winning this, and it's probably not going to be a very good idea that we use our Nano to try to run back to it. We
Mhm.
also attempt to like run back in, which you know isn't gonna be the best idea. Now they did the same thing. They did the same dumb moves, and they used Valk and Coalescence when they probably didn't need to. But I mean, still just hold on to it, right? When
Yeah.
fights are lost, no ults, right? Just don't use them when they're lost.
Lost.
Armora also ulted as well.
More than that to keep me out of the fight.
He dropped off the map for a second there.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Feeling sleepy.
Nice sleep. Briar, it's too far forwards, but we end up staggering there too. There we peaked for like half a second, line it up. Like, what we talked about last time, right? With just their nades is like, take time and effort to think about how we're landing it. Here we just kind of peak for half a second and then just chuck it in, right? It's just kind
Yep.
of like nade, and then we're gone, right? And then just it whiffs through all of them, right? Making sure putting intentional, going intentionally for the anti-nades, because again, haven't really hit many of those. I think we haven't hit any on the defense here.
Yeah, it's not too many great nades this round or game.
Yep.
Patched up.
Kind of sleeps too, but I think sleeps are definitely better. The consistency is not as terrible. So it like the if we're talking about the consistency in which we land them, I probably say like the amount of good nades versus bad nades we have are like or like unnecessary nades is probably like a 2 out of 10. So like every 10 nades we use, we kind of get 2 good nades, whereas
Mhm.
the sleeps is kind of more like maybe like a 50-50, kind of like a we out of 10 we hit 5 good sleeps. So I think it's definitely not as bad as the nades, but it also could be better as well. So just making sure we're putting thought and effort into our sleep usage. I completely forgot. We're gonna just real quick go over the strengths and weaknesses because we kind of skipped over that. Usually I do that halfway through, but we're a little over half here.
Okay.
Ability usage, kind of looking like a real important thing. Honestly, positioning hasn't looked like the biggest deal. So it looks like we've improved on that a bit because last time that was our number one thing we talked about. So I mean, like there has been things we've talked about, but not as big. So, nade usage we're putting at, or sorry, ability usage in general, we're probably putting at like a medium high, right? Then our ultimate usage, not like there are things, but they're not like insanely big. So we'll probably put ultimate usage at like a medium, right? Because we had like the last one we used particularly was like the one that was the worst. And
Mhm.
then mechanics, probably the lowest again. Not really a ton that we're doing mechanically wrong. Just we hit our shots. We're not shooting at the wrong things. We're doing fine in that area. So that's a low priority for you to work on. Then positioning is probably gonna be just a medium, right? Just we talked about a couple different things. Awareness is a little bit higher. Just slightly higher at a let's think. Why did we probably say awareness is going at like a medium high, and what we're gonna do here is we're gonna tie in because I think most of our deaths have been awareness based deaths. Uh Maybe not all of them. So think of these as kind of like a little bit paired, but I wouldn't say they're like too closely paired. But we'll pair in survivability with it. Just that category. It's I think I probably say most of them are based like we're dying because of our awareness, but
Mhm.
I probably wouldn't say it's like every death is because of them. Just there's most of them, and then there's a couple that aren't. So in that case, both of those, both survivability and awareness gonna go up at a medium high as well, right? All right.
This will only hurt for a minute.
Do we go for like a spawn anti-nade?
3, 2,
Oh, I wanna see it.
ready.
Oh, we learned one of the spots, man.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Interesting.
Attackers
And we do we?
incoming.
Oh, we actually landed it. Oh, that's pretty
Objective
sick.
A. Translocating.
Nemi.
Okay, there we rotate a little bit early, and then we're doing another long rotation. Um, I don't see any big purpose that we needed to rotate all the way over here. I think maybe we're trying to go over the Bastion, but
Yeah, I did
it's
that for the Bastion
yeah,
in
and
that
I
case.
mean, but if we just come over here, we can get the same line of sight on him, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're also just we kind of did that super long rotation in the middle of a fight there, so we just wanted to. Oh, Somra's invisible, huh? You can't see her through walls apparently while she's invisible over here. Oh, because she's in the middle of
Oh, she might
teleporting,
be
that's why.
teleporting. Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, there we go. Um, so, in any case, I'd probably say it's just a pretty... Like, if they just engaged a little bit faster, or your team engaged without you, that could have been really bad there.
Mm.
Alright, probably join the situation. Let's find engage here, just make sure we're hitting our shots, right? And then, besides that, we just probably unnecessarily drop from the high grounds, right? There's not a big reason why we had to drop, whereas, just... snap. She moved around the corner, right? Just look at this exact same thing. Where are we at? Okay, so look at this exact same thing when we drop and just let's say we just back up,
Yeah.
right? All of high ground next is natural cover. We don't need to drop from high ground to get away from an ash line of sight. In fact, that's probably going to be worse for us because it just puts us in not so great positioning. So just backing up away from the ledge would be better there than just dropping the point. So just watch our positioning again.
You're going to live.
Alright, then they didn't really do anything in particular.
Yeah, these names are pretty bad this game.
Yeah. Alright. Good job, Reinhardt.
That was pretty funny. I love that.
Will help.
Oh, Mercy's like 1 HP, followed up. Shoot at her. Right, look at this. Just watch your health bar. Right, make sure we're just going up for the follow-up shot right here. I think Diva might have blocked her health bar a tiny little bit, but you can see like she's 1 HP flying off in the distance there. We can just follow that up with a shot.
Yeah.
Right, possibly secure the kill.
Yeah, I probably should have done that.
Right, like in that situation, like, yeah, there's a Diva next to you, but Diva's also like a lot less likely to be able to escape and get away from than you know, than her. So then the Mercy, who's like in the middle flying out, so go for the Mercy.
Healing enough.
So here we're looking for Nano.
Mhm.
Probably gonna say like Bastion would be the best to go for, though. Going for a tank here wouldn't be terrible. They'd just be kind of average. They'd be meh. Whereas a Bastion would be pretty solid, right?
Yeah. Might die. I think I'd die with Nano.
Okay, well that's a no go unless we kind of get like, unless it's like kind of an unlucky death.
Yeah. I can't remember how this ends
Okay.
actually.
Pay attention to where. Okay, so here the whole team's just kind of engaging up there.
Get in there.
Paying
Yeesh,
attention,
okay.
paying attention again to kind of where teams engaging, because look at the fact that there's a Diva and a ball up there, whereas we're not. So we could be, if we're paying attention to like when and where they're trying to engage, we can maybe be up here, which can allow us to have some line of sight on the fight and have an impact.
Okay.
Here, I think like, and then we also try rotating when ball's backing up, right? So we're kind of out of sync with them. Just pay attention to what they're up
You're
to.
powered up. Get in there.
In that situation, like, probably not necessary, just because like he's out of line of sight of these guys, so like he could die, but then at the same time, like, he's a ball and like he's around, almost around the corner from them, and you could probably just normal heal him up and then pop a Nano on a Bastion, right? So that's just possibly not necessary to go for him, because you see he doesn't take any additional damage afterwards anyways, right? Like the hog misses his hook. If he did land it, then we could have if he did land his hook, then we could have nanoed him, right? Be just
Yeah.
paying attention to where he is, paying attention to the situation, so just kind of awareness again.
Healing enough.
Toss asleep, right? Just do something with it. We don't want to hold on to it and do nothing.
Just a scratch. You'll be fine.
That'd be kind of nuts if it went over and just landed on them while they're trying to hide inside the little hidey hole.
Mhm.
Hello.
Locating.
Take your medicine.
30 seconds remaining.
Nice nade. One person though, unfortunately. I mean, but you don't have as much precision with those long range ones, so I'm not gonna complain too much on that.
Okay.
Let them up.
EMP activated.
Nice nade. Very good. Okay, there we're going for some more aggressive ones. Make sure to get 2 kills. Oh, almost good sleep. Make sure we're reloading every time we have an opportunity, so that we're not, getting to a situation where people need healing and we don't have ammo. So, for example, we shoot at the McCree and now there's nothing in our line of sight, or we go for the, shot on her, but now we're just, we're stuck at like 1 ammo here, whereas if we had reloaded at any point there, now we have shots to keep healing these guys, which possibly keeps them alive, right? But because we're in the middle of reloading there, you can kind of see how they die. Oh. Oh. Oh, I didn't mean to snap it. It might skip us backwards here. Kind of like, no, I don't know where we're at.
We were like right at 17, I think.
All right. Yeah, we're like kind of
Oh,
right here.
yeah, perfect.
Here, just
18.
walk backwards. Use the ledge, right? Just like, let's rewatch this, right? High noon and now. Okay, our perspective, right?
Mhm.
Okay, that puts us off the edge, but or like straight down. But I mean, that's just an option here. We can also crouching also will do like have a similar effect. We can back up and crouch right
Mhm.
along the edge here, which would probably put him out of our line of sight, right? If we're too far away from anything else. Also, just it's usually going to be good to get a position near both, because then we have the option to do back up or use the wall, right? We have both as an option, and that just gives us additional cover.
Mhm.
Right, so just making sure we're utilizing the cover that we have, right? Good positioning is the usage of cover, not good positioning is standing next to cover, right? Good positioning is, that's the first step to using cover, is standing next to it. But if we're not actually using it, then, it doesn't do anything.
Okay.
Alright, and then that looks like game in 10 seconds here. Alright. So then we kind of got like 4 minutes left here-ish. Do you have another code you'd like to do a tiny little bit of?
Yeah. Um,
Or I guess
let's.
you also got the notes, so we don't have to do a super long review. So we can actually go a little bit longer with it.
Okay. I've got. Do you want me to tell you? I can just type it
Yeah,
in the
sure.
chat. Or 4AJBPJ.
For a JJPJ.
No, it's JBP, like the gas company, British Petroleum. Yeah, that's it.
Welcome to Oasis.
This is. Oh no, I think it's a 6-minute game. Why is it a 6-minute game?
Quick way.
No, this is. I think we rolled here,
No.
honestly, but
All right.
I
Well, I
can't
mean,
remember.
we don't have to spend. I mean, we're not gonna spend too much time on it. I mean,
It,
do you feel like we're not
yeah.
gonna get anything out of it, or what?
Yeah, maybe. I guess. This might be. This one felt good.
Remember me?
I think we had. There was a Doomfist, and
Hmm.
I picked this one just because we don't have as much time, and so
All right. What was your in-game name again? I'm kind of blanking on it.
Lumcord.
Lumcord.
I'm the
Okay. So
Ana, or
you're on the Lucio here.
did I play Ana?
Uh.
I don't even think I played Ana here. Okay, this is a bad. This might have been a bad
All right. Pick.
replay. Yeah.
All
I
right.
just picked it kind of. We'll do with Nubani then, or actually Route 66. This is a loss, and I accidentally joined it. View, no, not view. Share. Okay, this one's gonna be 109 CFF.
All right.
I should just use the copy function.
Ready for battle.
All right. So then you are not loaded in yet. There we
Ready
go.
for battle. 5, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
I will
Honestly,
heal.
like,
I was late. I know
Yeah.
the nade for this map. I was
Yeah.
just super late and didn't have time
Like,
to do it.
what rank are you again?
I was 2750 before I got banned.
All right.
And I was winning still a lot because I was 2500 when we first started, and then I was I got 2750 kind of after. But
Oh,
I've been
yeah.
2900 before, and
Mm.
that's really where I get
Yeah.
stuck at.
Honestly, like in not to say that you have to forget the ones you already know, but like just in the future, keep in mind like those nades are decently like they're like niche to the point where like it's gonna get you a tiny little value, and it's not typically like worth spending a ton of time on it until you're at higher ranks and you've already gotten out of the way the more pressing matters. So like all this stuff we're talking about here is probably going to overall get you more value than just kind of learning a quick nade spot.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind as you go, is that there's some more pressing issues with your gameplay than just getting the first 9% ult charge on a nade spot at the very beginning of a match, and then therefore that might mean that you want to kind of prioritize how you're spending your time practicing, right? Which of course don't forget the ones you already have, because it's still it's still a good part knowledge to know. It's just not gonna be super important until you're up to like Diamond Masters GM range ish.
Okay.
Probably say honestly, like even diamond, no. Like I'd probably say master's gem range is like probably where I would say it becomes like that's more of an acceptable range because that's where you like you're at such a high level of play that efficient like not you basically being super efficient and consistent matters more than just not than just not making than knowing how things work, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
more of a, since it's a higher level of play, that tiny little niche knowledge becomes more useful because you're
Okay.
only advancing by tiny little bounds.
Okay.
Getting the immortality cure.
Go. I'll keep you healed.
Okay, nice nade. So there we're going for more aggressive anti-nades already at the very beginning of this, and we get 2 people, so that's good.
Mm.
Here standing very far out in the open, right? Not really using cover properly. Instead, kind of position yourself a little bit further back so we can use this. And we're kind of just hard scoping on these guys while we have people who could potentially one tap us, like the Hanzo.
Yep.
Who's staring at us. So we just want to make sure we're not out in the open, scoped
You're
in where they can shoot us super easily.
Pretty sure. Yeah. Pretty sure I die here.
Bedtime.
Make sure we're requesting healing if we're sitting at 86 HP so that Baptiste can turn around real quick and just, heal us up, right? Or nade ourselves too, right? Because we're still sitting at 86 HP, right? Still sitting at 86 HP. We have a
Mm.
nano here, probably go for like the Reinhardt, or if Roadhog gets his ultimate, that's also a decent option.
You're going to be okay.
Still sitting, awareness of paying attention to our health bar, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's watch how we use our ult real quick. Oh, and then we're dead.
Yep.
Be a one tap, just, I mean, we also just sitting at 86 HP, even if he body shot us there, we would have died. They're just paying attention to the fact that Hanzo's shooting at us and maybe just moving out of, if we see he's shooting at us, take some more evasive maneuvers than just kind of standing still. Or not, we weren't standing still, sorry. Just take some more evasive maneuvers, move out of line of sight, just pay attention to the fact that he's shooting at you, and then that's really the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. Alright, so why don't we exit out there real quick? We're just going to do a quick main points, tiny little review mixed in there since you have your notes. We don't have to do a full review. And
Okay.
then finally, we'll just wrap up the session from there. So, yep, number one thing is
Never stop
probably
fighting for
going
what
to
you believe
be...
in.
let's just keep survivability as a separate one. We'll add that in as a separate. And then let's just remove mechanics as like aside from just sometimes where we just whiff a couple shots. It's not really too big of an area that you need to work on. Right? It's not really anything in particular that you're struggling with, and you're gonna find a lot more value out of working on the others. So we're just gonna remove that as a category.
Okay.
And then we'll add in survivability in its place. So number one, I'm probably going to put at awareness, as awareness fed into a whole heck of a lot of stuff in general, and making sure we're paying attention to when we won and lost fights, paying attention to our health bar, paying attention to health bar of enemy teams, paying attention to where's my team positioned, where's the enemy team positioned, paying attention to how team compositions dictate our play style and how we should be positioning accordingly, right? Paying attention to duels, do I have the advantage or the disadvantage, right? Like a lot of different stuff like that, right? They just all added up, and then awareness like kind of fed into a lot of our depths as well. So that's taking the number one spot. Number two, keep in mind that these top three are going to be very, very interchangeable. They're like if you kind of rated like out of 10 how much you need to work on them, they're all going to be like up at like the 8, 9 out of 10 spot, whereas the rest is going to be a lot lower. So just keep in mind that these top three are very, very close, and they're kind of evenish to work on them in whichever order you want to. So just keep that in mind. So number two, I'm probably going to say particularly in that last game that you were in, survivability was more important, though I don't know if that's going to be the case in every game that you're in, right?
Yeah.
Particularly there, survivability, though, was the big issue, is just we died a ton, and even in that, last game that we were in, that we just reviewed for half a second, we died first thing again, right?
Yep.
So paying attention to staying alive and making sure we have survivability. Don't die. Dying's bad. Think about why did I die. Don't just, say, oh snap, I died. Say, oh snap, I died. maybe I shouldn't have stood out in the open. Instead, I should have stood there, right? So the process to improvement is number one, identifying the mistake. Oh snap, I died. I died because I was out in the open, right? That's identifying the mistake. And then also identify the solution or what could you have done instead, which would be I died out in the open. I should probably position there instead, right? Position near
Okay.
cover, right? So that's how
Yeah.
you look to improve. 4 different rough things that lead into deaths are misuse of abilities, such as when the monkey killed us and we didn't have abilities, or a lack of, being in bad positioning, lack of awareness, or being too aggressive. I'd probably say being too aggressive wasn't really a problem, and the ability usage one isn't usually a super big issue. So the big 2 main ones for that category are just the lack of awareness and positioning ones that kind of led into death. So pay attention to those. Moving on, number 3 is ability usage. Again, this is pretty, like, you could almost make this interchangeable with the number 1 spot. So these all are really close. Obviously, we talked a lot. Focus on your nades. Make sure you're getting aggressive anti-nades in there. And then that's pretty much it. Just look for them because it didn't seem as if we were looking for them. And then that's kind of the first step is actually using aggressive anti-nades. Make sure
Okay.
not tossing nades into nothingness, which sometimes we did. Sleeps, focus on hitting them a little bit more. Just focus on the consistency of how often we're getting good nades and good sleeps. Because, it's like we said, it's kind of like, 2 out of 10 good nades and then 5 out of 10 good sleeps. You just want to get that rate up higher and higher and higher so that we're getting more consistent. It's never going to be 10 out of 10, but sometimes it'll be, we could get up to 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, right? Moving on, number 4 is going to be our positioning. Just make sure positioning near cover, using the cover, not just standing near it though. Taking high grounds, make sure we're not rotating in the wrong times, and we are rotating in the better times, right? Not rotating in the middle of fights, but we are rotating, and when we have lulls and fights in, when the fight's not happening, and then going to our team when they're on a dive, right? Or
Yeah.
flankers. Then finally, ultimate usage, just make sure we're not using it in lost fights, and then not holding on to it, and then hopefully don't use it. Pay attention to, what's the best target to use it for. Don't use it if you think that the ball could survive right that one time. And then that is pretty much it. Do you have any questions about anything we've talked about?
Tired. This is going to hurt. You're powered up. Get in there.
I guess more. I used to talk more about like the nade usage because I know I did use. I'm really quick to like use my nades, and being able to slow that down, and like kind of. I guess like I just not really sure like when to do that.
When to go for
like
anti-nades?
yeah, because like I have a really bad habit of just like when my anti-nade's up, I just throw it without thinking all that much about it. I know not to do that now, but like, I don't know. Like, how do I get better at that in a way?
Yeah, so the way that you look to, I mean, I don't see this. Let me check. I don't see this in the notes anywhere. So like, why don't we just talk about that real quick? Is just think, the way that you look to get better, anything that you're trying to practice at. Cut me off if this is something I talked about last time.
Okay.
But the way you look to get better at anything you're trying to practice at is that you intentionally focus on that thing, right? So, for example, in this instance, or I guess before we get into that, right, just focusing on the thing, you're not going to autopilot, you're not going to just focus on winning, because contrary to popular belief, if you're just focusing on winning, you're actually not going to be winning games in the long term. You're going to just be winning games in the short term, which means you're just going to stagnate. And then, instead you be focusing on improvement, right? Now, what that looks like is while you're playing, your brain's gonna look something like this, where you're going nades, 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 right, nades, 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 right? And then when we put that much attention and focus and effort and thought into how we're using our nades, you're going to start to notice that we're hitting some more anti-nades because we're paying attention to it more often and we're not, using it poorly as much anymore. And when we do that for a long enough period of time and we practice at it, then it's going to start to form as a habit. And then after it forms as a habit, we no longer need to put that much attention and effort and focus into it. And we can instead move on to something else. Now, we've talked about a lot of stuff here. Don't try to do everything all at once because that gets overwhelming. Instead, focus on just, one category of things or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category. All right, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So just make sure we're thinking about how are we using our nades while we're going about, about using them, right? Make sure instead of just tossing them in without thinking, that we're thinking about them while we're tossing them in or before we're tossing them in, right?
Okay.
So any other additional questions?
I think that'll be it. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to stop the recording